If you are inside a boat heading towards a waterfall, there's almost nothing you can do. With so much momentum behind it, your fate is sealed. You will fall. Now, as you make your descent towards the end, rewind some moments back to the beginning of the trip and tell me, when would have been the best time to avoid this tragedy? Would have been right before it fell? When it started to pick up some speed? When the engine started, perhaps? No. The best time, as you might have guessed it, would have been before you even enter the boat. If you said no before you were sold on this trip, nothing would have happened. When there was no momentum, it would have been easy. Now, I'm not here because I care about water safety or about your next boat trip, but because your descent into temptation is exactly the same. You allow yourself to get into this boat and pick up momentum and then wonder why you can't stop. You are using the wrong approach, and that is what we will correct today. Let's begin. Now, what you're seeing here on the screen, I'm going to be showing from my iPad, will be here on the screen, is what I call the temptation waterfall. This is what usually happens when, all the way from when you start feeling an urge, all the way to when you decide to go ahead and watch porn or play a video game or go to social media, all these things that you shouldn't do. Now, this is part of a bigger course that I'm going to be showing you here. A lot of steps, a lot of things. It's a free course that you can check down below. It's free, so feel free to check it out. And we go into more detail that I'm going to go here. But what I want to hone in on is how this happens, why it happens, and what you can do to stop yourself from every time you feel an urge, every time you feel temptation, from going with it, and how you can actually take back control. And I know you may wonder, what can a 15, 20-minute video do here for me? But I promise that a lot of these solutions, the true solutions, they're simple. They're difficult to apply, but they are simple. And what you have to understand is that, as you see here on the drawing, this here standing is you, and this on the boat is the voice of evil, the voice of excuses, of temptation, of the one that tells you, just go and scroll 5 minutes. That's what's happening here. And what you must realize is that this is always a negotiation between the good side of your mind and the bad side of your mind. Because especially when it begins, you're like, one part of you is saying, oh, I want to work, I want to do this. And the other part is saying, no, don't worry, you'll do it tomorrow. Go and scroll 5 minutes. It will be easier later. It's always this battle. And the main thing that you have to understand here, that some of you may be already like, oh, what the hell? Is that this is a negotiation you cannot win face on. Just talking back, just engaging, you can never win, you'll never win, and you haven't ever won, probably. So you have to realize that. Now, why can you never win? You can say the good side of me is just as strong as the bad side of me, and I would say, of course, I would say it's even stronger, but you need to work to each of their advantages and disadvantages. Because the problem here with the bad side of your mind is that it's a very good salesman in this negotiation. If we think about it in the context of, these big markets that they have in, for example, Malaysia or in Thailand, where people are selling these fake shoes, clothes, all these things, all the salesmen, all the people selling, they'll go talk to you very loud and start negotiating, bargaining, all these things. And if you stay there long enough, if you engage for long enough, you're going to buy. Things you don't want, things you don't need, things you're going to regret, but you will buy. And here's the same thing. If you engage for long enough, you will buy. But the problem here is that you pay not only with your money, you pay with your time, with your effort, with how you feel about yourself, with everything, with your future progress. And so realize this first of all, because it knows exactly what you want. It knows the tricks you fall for. It knows the excuses you accept. And it has something you really, really want. Pleasure. Immediate pleasure. Social media, pornography, video games, all things that you really, really enjoy and really, really want. And so if you listen to it, you will buy. Now, with that said, it's not all hopeless. You have a lot of things you can do, but the main thing you should do here is the same thing you should do in one of these busy markets. It's not to talk back, it's not to say no, it's not to get angry, none of that. The best solution to win this negotiation is to not engage in this negotiation. Just as in the market, if you keep walking forward, don't look at anyone, don't talk to anyone, people will say something to you, and then it'll be like, whatever. That guy is not even paying attention. We'll try with someone else. Now here, there's no one else to try, but do it long enough and the mind will also stop trying as much. Now, obviously here, if you just, you can't just ignore. You may ask me, how do I ignore my mind? What you do here is you get up from where you are and you go outside or somewhere else and you leave your devices behind. If you're if you work from home, get up, go outside. If you work on your office, get up, go outside or go to the common area. Just leave your devices behind and give yourself space to think and to act. Give yourself space to do the right thing. And that's here. You want to act before this even begins. As soon as you notice that little urge, that little something coming up, get up and go somewhere else. Then the other thing you're going to want to do, and we're going to look here at the solution. So that was number one. The number two thing you want to do is what I call a focus routine. And we'll look at 3 in a second. Focus routine is just something to center your mind once again, to slow it down, to bring the pace down, and to really center on what you truly want. For me, I listen to this audio right here, and then as I play a chess game. This allows me to still keep my mind engaged, to refocus what I'm trying to do, and really to, not slowly, but in a smooth way, transition to what I want to do. Other people will meditate, some will journal, some will read a book or the newspaper. There's a lot of ways to go about it. As long as it's mindful and simple and relatively quick, use it, try it, find something that works for you. You can use mine, you can just meditate, choose something. Try, see what works for you. That's the main thing here. By doing this, you'll notice that your mind will slow down, will calm down, and for most of you, you realize that you didn't even want this, watch porn, play. You didn't even want this. You just didn't want to do the work that was in front of you or to deal with the overwhelming task in front of you. And that then is where number 3 comes along, and that's where you have to, I'm going to just put like this, you have to clarify, horrible handwriting, but you have to clarify what you have to do. These tasks that are so overwhelming, these things that you feel a resistance towards. Ideally, you do it before, but you haven't, do it now. Let's say you're trying to write an article, but you just wrote to what you have to do as write an article. It's not going to work. You have to break it down into, first of all, define article topic. Then number 2, define word count. Number 3, define the different subtopics within the main article. Then define how many days do I have to do this, and then you split the words per day and leave a day to edit. And all of a sudden, instead of just the main task being write an article, and all of a sudden it starts with, define article topic. And maybe you give 30 minutes to yourself to do that. And then you're like, okay, once I have that, then I'm going to define the subtopics within the article. All these things makes it so much easier for the mind, because then it knows what comes after, where this all is leading to, and what you have to do now. So by doing all these things, you remove all doubts in your mind, and it allows it to just focus on one thing. Because if you think about it, the mind is not against you, it's just trying to answer questions you haven't. Because if you start writing the article, it's going to be asking you, but what is this even about? Why are we doing this? How long is this going to be for? What are you trying to do here? And if you don't have those answers, then it's going to be telling you, what, might as well just get out of here. This is too overwhelming. Let's go play video games. Let's go watch porn. Tomorrow we'll work on this. But then tomorrow comes and it's even harder, because now you have negative momentum going for you. And I say this is a waterfall. I didn't even explain that. I should have. It's because as soon as you get into this boat and you start listening to the excuses, and start listening, you start accepting the excuses, and then you accept making a small concession, which is like, I'll work for 10, 20, 30 minutes, and then I'll go and do this thing that we want to do. And usually this leads to a big concession, which is you don't even do that. You just go and watch porn, play video games, all this, and all of a sudden you fell. And once you fall, it's very hard to get back to where you were. Usually only the next day, and then this repeats. And so by realizing this, what you should realize too is that the solution in every of these steps is the same. You get up, you do your focus routine, you come back, you clarify. But the problem is that the further along you go, the harder it is. Because just as with the boat, if you start going, the current is against you, or it's pushing you towards where you don't want to go. And once that momentum is behind you, it's very, very hard to stop. So the less momentum, the easier it is to stop. So this is what you have to keep in mind. You're not going to always be able to do it here. Maybe you'll do it here. Sometimes you'll do it here. Sometimes you won't be able to do it. You have to practice. But the more you get into the habit of stopping right here before this negotiation even happens, the better it'll be off. In the beginning, it's hard because then your mind is like, God damn, I really wanted to go play the video games. This trick always works. Why is he not reacting? And now sometimes you won't be, it will hit you again and you won't be able to do anything. But that's why the rest of the course we have here, we talk about winning the negotiation, fixing your environment, emotional tipping point, small concession. We talk about all these things here, give you tools for all of these steps. But know for now, above all, to conclude, stop as soon as you can. get up, go somewhere else, give yourself more space to act so that you don't have to act impulsively right away. Correct your mind, reset the focus, reset the momentum, get yourself, slow it down, get yourself focused, and then clarify what you have to do, come back and do it. The more you do this, the less the urges are going to be, the less strong they're going to be, and you're going to notice yourself just doing things more consistently, with more focus, faster, better, everything will improve. Now, is this enough to completely correct all your problems with these addictions? Of course not. For some, perhaps, but if you're really struggling with these things, this will help, but it won't be fully enough. And for the rest, what I recommend, go check the free course. If not, I'm going to be dropping more videos on this. But above all, to finish, remember, you are always in control. No matter how strong the urge is, no matter how you feel like you can't stop, you can always stop. You can always stop. And only when you truly believe that you can stop, and when you believe that you don't want this anymore, will you really stop. But do not think for a second that you don't have control and that this voice always has to win, because it doesn't always have to win. Remember that.